I am so excited to show you all of my new whimsical and wild stamps that I've created with Spellbinders. The detail in each of the sets is so beautiful. So they're all based on pages from my new book, which is called Whimsical and Wild. They've also got sentiments on there. Some of them are my handwritten things from the book, and some are, well, they're more of a sentiment that you can use for a card because so many people use stamps for beautiful card making. There's also lots of little accessories, or little supporting characters on each of the stamp sets, little crowns, flowers, love hearts, other little creatures. And just to give you one idea of how you might like to use stamps, I am going to make a little book of mantras for the new year. I'm starting with a piece of paper that I actually created with my niece and nephew. We were using my jelly print, my jelly plates, and you can see their handprints in there as my little mini shell jelly plate. That's it. There's a mixture of metallic paints, all sorts of different things. And being a very naughty Auntie Jane, I decided to keep the paper. Then I've folded it in four and folded it in half lengthways, folded it in four across the page, and then added that little slit in the middle. This is called a Japanese fold. It's a way of making a little book without actually having any book binding. So once you've got that little cut through the middle, you can then fold the book together. And then I've got all of these lovely little bright pages that I've been waiting to use. I didn't really know I've had them sitting there. And we're at the beginning of 2020 as I film this all of these 8 new, or was it 9? Oh, 9. New stamps have all come out, and I just wanted to show you them, and just a fun way of using them. So I'm deciding which one of these is going to make a good cover, and then I've got to work out how I'm going to use them. So I love the idea of putting the stamps on these bright colors rather than the normal way of using stamps, I guess, is to stamp and then color it in. So I've worked out which stamp I'd like on the front cover and the back cover, and then just keeping them on there, just holding the stamp sets there. I'm just going to unfold the paper so I know where to place them, and then the placement of the others isn't as critical. I'm going to use the Squid ink from my collection, which is an archival, fast drying, beautiful ink that is waterproof and alcohol marker proof. And I'm just going to tap the ink over. Now I just have to tell you, although I love stamps, I don't really consider myself that good at them. I always seem to make a mess. I get black ink everywhere, especially over my hands. You will see that over the course of this video. I'm also not really very good at gluing stuff. I have other skills. Stamping and gluing are just not one of them. What I do find though is when I've got a brand new stamp, it's a very good idea, for me at least, to put the ink on the stamp and then do a little test print. For a start, I can see exactly what the stamp's going to do, but it also seems to help the ink stick better afterwards. So usually the very, 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 very first stamp you do from a brand new stamp, it's not that great. I get better. And I'm going to just put that on. This little stamp block that I've got has a slight curve to it. I can't remember the brand, I'm very sorry. And it just helps me get a good connection. And also, because I'm not printing on a flat surface, I'm printing on paper that's folded, that's painted on jelly plates. Sometimes I've got collage under there as well, which does have dimension, and it's a lot harder for the poor stamp to get a perfect impression. So I'm not after a perfect impression. Perfection doesn't really interest me, which is lucky because I rarely achieve it. And let's put this into a fast forward as I fill up the other pages with my other stamps. So I've got a little brave bear, I've got my Drama Llama set, which I think might be my favorite set at the moment. I just love the little girl in this. And then I decided I wanted lots and lots of flowers going across that little natural bit of green that's at the bottom. That does look like a little bit of lawn, bit of grass. So I got out all of the flowers from the whole set and stamped those down. And one of my favorite things about stamps as a creative tool is that because these are clear and it's on a clear block, I can hover them over the page and I can audition my ideas. So I can have a look and get an idea of what it's going to look out before I commit to it. So I can move it around and decide, okay, and let ideas come to the fore as I go along. And once I've placed all of my stamps and the ink is dry, I can then start to add more color if I want to. So I'm using velvet pastels. I love using them for cheeks and lip color. They're lovely and soft. I can just dab them on, leave them as is, but I can also use my finger to soften them off. I also find paint pens are terrific when I'm creating on another painted background and I want to create a difference, like make my subject stand out. I find this process very experimental because I want to make the little subject stand out where I've stamped it, but I also don't want to lose all the pretty colors that are in the background because they also have that sentimental attachment as well, because little people, little creatures that I love created them with their little hands, and so it's like a little moment in time. It allows me not to hoard those memories but include them in my art making process. So it's not just fun for me at the time, but it's something fun, and I love seeing how Auntie Jane uses the artwork that I, well, effectively have stolen from them. Also, for me personally, this was a really good way of testing a few ideas out and learning things that I like and don't like. And when you make a mistake, when you create something that just doesn't resonate with you, it's just so valuable because you learn the parameters, you learn things about your own aesthetic and things that maybe they don't actually work in that instance, but they might work for something else. So even if I make a mistake and something goes through an ugly phase, I'm still learning. And I also think everything is salvageable anyway. Another thing that I find really fascinating about the art making process is as soon as you've got more than one subject, you've got a story happening. So you can either have the subjects ignoring each other across the page, like they can't see each other, that's fine, treat it as two little separate pages, or you can connect the two and let a story evolve. Also, just to mention that if you don't get a perfect stamp impression, just as I don't, you can always fill in with pen. It's not a big deal. So I had a lot of fun just creating and recreating and using as a starting point the stamps and letting them evolve into little stories. I also started to incorporate some of my washi tapes from my very, very first washi tape collection that has eyes from different artwork, and I loved putting those on as well. Of course, I can recreate that, but this is just so quick and does the same thing effectively. It's what I wanted to create was just something quick and fun and easy that I was going to enjoy making. And it was after I added some color or some white paint pen to the little feather that I stamped on the elephant's trunk for the cover, that's when I came across this idea of making this a little book of mantras of things that I want to bring into my life as much as possible. And I really like this page because image on the left, I don't know what I did to that poor snow leopard, but I destroyed it. But I like the sentiment that I have there. So light as a feather, who doesn't want to feel that freedom of that brevity and lightness in their heart and soul. Always I want to be dreaming of beautiful days and remembering the good times. I want to let wild ideas sit and domesticate them. I kind of like that page a lot. Feeling free is important to me. I think that's a bit of a mantra always. And I love to feel always protected. So that was just a really fun little journey, and all kicked off by just practicing with stamps, playing with stamps. I hope that you enjoyed the video and that you are curious about the stamps. You can find them at janedavenport.com and beautiful, amazing, independent retailers and spellbinders.com.